It's a random Tuesday night. You're sitting in the driveway, completely exhausted. Maybe you took a hit at work, an argument drained whatever energy you had left, or the quiet of the car is just a little too loud. In these deeply vulnerable windows, your brain stops looking for complex solutions. It shifts into survival mode, searching for an exit. The natural human instinct is to drop the heavy lifting of discipline and reach straight for the easiest coping mechanism available. We often tell ourselves a very convenient story about why we slip. We point to the bad day, the overwhelming stress, or the argument as the primary cause of relapse. However, external weight merely acts as a stress test. The bad news or the lonely night simply exposes a spiritual foundation that already had cracks in it long before you ever parked the car. Maintaining freedom requires understanding one absolute rule: pressure acts as an exposing agent. It functions like a spotlight on your character, illuminating the material you are actually made of. Think about the mechanics of this sponge. When a hand clamps down and squeezes it, the physical force adds no new liquid to the foam. It merely forces out whatever was already hiding inside the pores. This same principle applies to your recovery. When everyday life puts the squeeze on you, God allows that friction to surface. He uses the pressure to reveal hidden deficiencies in the structure of your life. Proverbs 24 states that if you fail under pressure, your strength is too small. The ultimate goal, then, is building a foundation robust enough to hold up when the squeeze inevitably comes. Reverse engineering a backslide requires looking at it through a mechanical lens. Treat the lapse as a specific structural break that can be mapped and fixed, rather than a mysterious personal curse. The Book of James instructs us to ask God for wisdom when trials hit. Here, wisdom operates as an objective diagnostic tool. It locates the structural vulnerabilities in your life well before they bring the whole house down. Standard advice hands you a generic checklist of good deeds. Wisdom operates differently, acting like a structural scan, mapping a pillar's interior. Instead of busy work, wisdom names the cracks. It pinpoints the exact coordinates of your weakness, showing precisely where your perimeter has worn thin. Relying on this diagnostic allows you to map out your leaks methodically, removing shame from failure. You start treating everyday pressure like a helpful asset that shows you exactly what needs fixing. When pressure spikes, it tests your self-view. Squeeze a man and watch his ego gauge. He will rapidly inflate or completely collapse. The inflation side is pride. Thinking too highly of yourself distorts judgment, making you careless with the boundaries you fought to build. But if the friction of the day it's a little too hard, that needle snaps in the exact opposite direction. This is insecurity. Feeling worthless distorts judgment, constructing a shame-based identity that convinces you to quit fighting entirely. The structural fix for both of these extremes is found in Romans 12, maintaining sober judgment. You must keep a strictly accurate, balanced view of your own value. Both a swollen ego and a crushed spirit serve as dangerous influences. They quietly unlock the doors to your old bondage long before you actually take the final step toward a relapse. Once you have stabilized how you view yourself, the friction of life moves on to test the next layer of your foundation, the actual physical boundaries you set in your daily routine. Major falls typically grow from tiny, unmonitored leaks, small moments where territory is surrendered little by little rather than in one sudden explosion. These leaks are specific, seemingly minor compromises you refuse to cut off. It's justifying keeping one dangerous door open, holding on to one hidden late-night habit, or maintaining one secret conversation with a number you should have deleted. Most people reach for what is easiest when they are tired and triggered. If you keep these exceptions around, your brain will instinctively follow that path of least resistance the moment your energy is depleted. This is why the instruction in Matthew 26 to watch and pray is an active mandate. You have to lock down those highly vulnerable hours while you still have your wits about you, well before the exhaustion sets in. If you refuse to brutally close off these small exceptions while life is calm, those exact unaddressed leaks will be the very access points that take you down when the moment gets loud. Which brings us to the ultimate question of this entire framework. When the pressure spikes, Do you have actual tested training, or are you just holding on to good intentions? Emotional highs and the hype of a Sunday morning church service feel great in the moment, but hype burns off fast when you are alone, stressed, and fighting a massive urge on a random Tuesday night. Survival comes down to one absolute law: discipline beats drift. Without a deliberate, structured intervention, an untrained mind will inevitably drift backward to its old habits the second it gets squeezed. To stop the drift, you need a daily system. We call this the path. It is a rigorous training plan designed to build daily protection, replacing a reliance on sheer willpower with structured reps. Repetitive, disciplined action creates new defaults. By showing up with the consistency of a farmer or the rigor of an athlete, you replace old impulsive reactions with a new automatic response system that holds firm under stress. That consistency ensures that when the heavy realities of life push against you, they push you firmly and safely into your own disciplined foundation, rather than back into your old habits. True, load-bearing strength doesn't come from just trying harder. Proverbs establishes that your strength to endure the squeeze is directly equivalent to your actual faith and trust in God. To increase that strength, you increase that trust. You do that by actively abiding in Christ, fighting to maintain a sober view of yourself, and refusing to surrender a single inch of your boundaries. Committing to this disciplined system dismantles the shame of past failures. It hands you the exact mechanical tools you need to accurately identify the cracks in your life and rebuild the wall. When you stop relying on the temporary high of emotional hype and actually begin training for the squeeze, you stop merely surviving your week. You step into a reality where you remain permanently, unshakably free. Free indeed.